सदाशिवसमारम्भाम् त्वा गणपतिम् हवामहे कविम् कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजम् ब्रह्मणाम् ब्रह्मणस्पत आनः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् श्रीमहागणाधिपतये नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परम् ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भाम् शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। Om. Dear friends, in the last class we completed the 18th adhyaya of the Bhagavad Gita. That is 78th shloka we read, and also we read the Bhashyam Yatra Yogeshwarah Prishno Yatra Partho Dhanurdharaha Tatra Shrir Vijayo Bhutir Dhruvanitir Matir Mama. So that last shloka we read along with the Bhashyam. So today we will have a brief summary of this chapter. This chapter is too huge, so the summary itself may take 2 hours. But today I want to complete it in a rather short time, maybe in less than an hour, so that we can, at the end of it, we can also do some small puja and just to mark the completion of this Jnana Yajna, Bhagavad Gita Jnana Yajna. So in the last class also, Krishna himself was saying that the one who reads this whole thing and then one who teaches and all these things, that also, that person also, he is deemed to have worshipped me in this Jnana Yajna. So that is what he said. So Rajan Samsmrutya, you see this particular line we saw. Shrunuyadapi sopi adhyeshyate cha imam dharmyam samvadamavayoho jnana yajnena tenaham ishtasyamiti me matihi. That is 70th shloka. So he said that the study of this dharmyam samvadam is something like a jnana yajna. So that is what we have done in the last 2 years or more, and then we have successfully completed the line by line study of Shankaracharya's Bhashya also. So I will just give a summary of this 18th chapter. So this 18th chapter, as we saw, the Gita itself is divided into 3 parts. That is, the first 6 chapters, second 6 chapters, and the last 6 chapters. And then this structure of the Gita, we have been seeing that it is so structured that it conveys the meaning Tattvamasi. The first 6 chapters, they talk about the Tvam Padartha, that is about the Jiva, his gunas, and then his, the karma, all this, and then the karma, Atma Sanyama Yoga, and all those things. Then, the next 6 chapters, they talk about the Tat Padartha, the nature of the divine. The last 6 chapters, they talk about the process of evolution of this Jiva into a higher being. This Jiva, who is a limited being, he has to discard his notion of limited self, and then he has to become that supreme Brahman. Brahmaveda Brahmaiva Bhavati. Otherwise Brahmavit Brahmaiva Bhavati. Both are correct. So this man, this delimited person, he has to shake off all his limited identities and realize that this Ghata Akasha is nothing but that Mahakasha. So that is what is the process. So this process is described in this last 6 chapters, starting from Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga. And then we have seen an examination of various gunas, the 3 gunas, and lot many aspects of human nature, they have been studied from the perspective of these 3 gunas. And some more are pending now. And those pending things are being described in this chapter. In addition to that, Lord Krishna is also giving a conclusion. He is telling certain final words, he is giving some final instructions to Arjuna. And then after the conversation ends, Sanjaya again gets back to the storyline and then tells the Dhritarashtra about what his assessment, overall assessment is. So that is how this particular chapter is structured. So in this chapter we have seen that it is a large, this is the largest chapter, having 78 shlokas. And then it is in continuation of the earlier chapters. The earlier chapters, they studied certain aspects of self-discipline from in the framework of these 3 gunas. So this chapter is also going to continue that. But before getting into that, Arjuna has the first shloka starts with Arjuna's question. Arjuna's question is about the distinction between sannyasa and also tyaga. Sannyasasya mahabaho tatvamichhami veditum tyagasya cha hrishikeshe. What is the difference between sannyasa and tyaga? Because these two words have been used in different contexts by Lord Krishna, and there, depending on the context, there is a slight change in the meaning. So he wants to know for certain as to what exactly Lord Krishna means by sannyasa and what is the meaning of tyaga. So renunciation of all action, kamyanam karmanam nyasam, sannyasam kavayo viduhu. Lord Krishna clarifies that the renunciation of all actions is what is called sannyasa, and then renunciation of the fruit of actions, karma phala tyaga, is the tyaga. So that is what he says. Karma phala tyaga we have also seen in the Upanishads, that is tyage naike amrutatva manashuhu, then tena tyaktena bhunjithaha, that is Ishavasya. So like that, this is a concept from the Upanishad itself. So this say clarification is given by Lord Krishna. Then Lord Krishna also goes on to elaborate. He goes on to elaborate, saying that yajnadana tapah karma natyajyamiti japare and nischayam shrunu tatra. You listen to my say decision. What is my decision in this say in this particular on this particular point? That is yajnadana tapah karma natyajyam karma karyameva tat yajnodanam tapaschaiva pavanani manishinam. That is the fifth shloka. That is the decision of Lord Krishna. That is yajna, danam, tapaha, karma. So this is something, it has to be done by an ignorant person. So long as a person is on the plane of ignorance, he has to do this yajna, dana, tapa, karma, etc., because they lead to self-purification. Pavanani manishinam. Pavanani means they are the purifying agents for a human being, because you are doing a yajna for the welfare of say society. You are doing dana for the welfare of somebody else. You are doing tapa for the sake of knowledge. This karma again, Ishwararpana buddhya karma, all these things, they are going to chasten a particular person. They are going to make a person's mind pure. So that is what he said. And then he says, Etanyapi tu karmani sangam tyaktva phalani cha. Etanyapi, there Shankaracharya was explaining that even though these karmas, even though all these things, they are binding in nature. Actually, all karma is binding in nature. So, etanyapi tu karmani, even though these things, all these things are binding in nature, in the case of a phalarthi, somebody who is seeking the fruit of it. But when you do not seek the fruit, then they are not binding in nature. So that is what he says, kartavyani iti me partha, nishchitam matamuttamam. The proper way is to perform them with this attitude. Kartavyani, this is my kartavya, this is the duty assigned to me as an order from the Lord. So with that Ishwararpana buddhi, a person has to continue that. So that is what he says. And then when we come to this 11th shloka, he talks about, not 11th shloka, 7th shloka, the very 7th shloka, niyatasya tu sannyasaha karmano nopapadyate. This nitya karma is something which cannot be given up. So we have heard about this karma, akarma, vikarma in the 4th chapter also. Akarma is totally giving up karma. Giving up karma is something which will not lead you to naishkarmyam. Na karmana manarambhat naishkarmyam purushoshnute. That also is there in earlier shloka. So this giving up, simple giving up of any karma does not lead to moksha. So that is what is repeated here. Niyatasya tu sannyasaha karmanaha karmano nopapadyate. Karmanaha sannyasaha na upapadyate. Renunciation of all these actions, it is not contemplated. Na upapadyate here is, it is just not contemplated. Then mohat tasya parityagaha. If you just give it up out of some deluded thinking, it is basically a tamasa pravrutti and not a sattvika pravrutti. Then he goes on. Then if you see go to 9th shloka and 10th shloka, they talk about a karma yogi. Karma yogi who is gradually graduating into a jnani. That is karyamityeva yat karma niyatam kriyate arjuna. Sangam tyaktva phalam chaiva. That is nitya karma as a sort of dharma. Dharmena papam apanudati. That also we know. Because this dharma is going to ward off all the sins. It is going to nullify all the sins. So that also we have seen. Then this karma yogi also, he does it in this fashion. Nadveshtya kushalam karma, kushalena anushajyate. He neither dislikes something which is kamya karma, and he doesn't fall in love with this nitya karma. So he is neutral. Tyagi sattva samavishtaha. That is somebody who is filled with the sattva guna. Samavishtaha, sattva guna, filled with sattva guna. He is possessed by sattva guna. So which is again the hetu for viveka. It is the hetu for discrimination, proper discrimination. Then medhavi, chinna samshayaha, somebody who doesn't have any sort of doubt about what he is doing. So these two shlokas, they talk about a karma yogi who is slowly on the path of jnana. Then Krishna tells something about how karma cannot be avoided. Nahi deha bhruta shakyam tyaktum karmanyasheshatah. Deha bhruta, deham bibharti iti deha bhrut. One who has that notion of identity with the body-mind complex. A person who has that notion of identity with the body-mind complex, he cannot give up action. So that is what he says. Yastu karma phala tyagi. One who renounces this karma phala, renunciation of this fruit of that action, he is the real tyagi. Then he tells about phalam. What is this? Anishtam, ishtam, mishram cha trividham karmana phalam. Karma, the fruit of any type of action, is of three types. Something which is undesirable, something which is desirable, and something which is mixed. This is in the case of atyagi. Somebody who is an atyagi, one who does not do this this karma in the sense of with the notion of this karma yoga. So we are talking in that person's context. Then coming to this shloka 17, if you come to shloka 17, it talks about one who has gone above that notion of kartrutva. We know this kartrutva, bhoktrutva bhavana. This shloka talks about somebody who has gone beyond that kartrutva bhavana. Yasya nahankruto bhavo buddhir yasya nalipyate hatvapi saiman lokan nahanti na nibadhyate. So he says there is action, but then there is no actor. Hatvapi iman lokan. Even though he does so many things, so many activities, na karoti nalipyate, na hanti na nibadhyate. So he doesn't get entangled in the fruit of that action. So there is an action, but then this actor, that notion of kartrutva, is not there. So this is what we see in this. And then commentator Sri Shankaracharya, he also says that he performs all these actions with the attitude of a sakshi. He is a sakshi for all the activities of the body-mind complex. So that is what Shankaracharya says. Then when we come to this 18th shloka onwards, 18th shloka onwards, roughly about 18 to 20 shlokas, they analyze various topics from the point of view of these three gunas. The three gunas are there, sattva, rajas and tamas. So in the earlier adhyayas, in the 17th adhyaya and all that, we have examined various other things. Say for example, sharira, what is this tapas, then what is that, then shraddha, what is dhanam. So all these things, they were examined from the point of view of say these three gunas. Now some more aspects, some more topics are being examined from the point of view of this sattva, rajas and tamoguna. Then first point which is taken up is jnanam. Jnanam means understanding. Here it doesn't mean Brahma Jnana. Jnanam here we are not referring to Brahma Jnana. We are referring to a person's vision of life, a particular his understanding of the reality. So that is what we are referring to here. So here Jnanam. Jnanam again, it is again of three types: Sattvika Jnana, Rajasa Jnana and Tamasa Jnana. So the Sattvika Jnana is the ability to see unity in all. Sarva bhuteshu yena ekam bhavam avyayam ikshate avibhaktam vibhakteshu. Among so many this is 20th shloka. Among all the divided things, he sees unity. So he sees unity in diversity. So that sort of jnanam is sattvikam. Sattvika jnana is seeing that unity in diversity. And so this again is an Upanishadic thought only. Sarvam khalvidam brahma, it is an Upanishadic thought. So this sort of understanding will gradually lead him to the understanding of the supreme reality. Then the next shloka talks about the Rajasa Jnana. Rajasa Jnana is seeing diversity. Basically seeing diversity, seeing difference, and then basically it is a divisive type of vision, the divisive mentality. There are some people who can only analyze, divide things. So of course this is something like a scientific science, modern day thing. We can call it a scientific way, because science basically tries to divide and distinguish and see things. There is nothing wrong. But then if that is used for mischievous purposes, that is wrong. So, but then a philosopher sees unity, whereas a science it studies difference. So here this is a Rajasa Buddhi. This Rajasa Buddhi, pruthakttvena tu yajnanam nanabhavan pruthagvidhan vetti sarveshu bhuteshu. So dividing and sort of divisive view is something which is the Rajasa view. Then Tamasa view is sticking on to a very small thing, and then as though that itself he holds on to a particular idea, and then he thinks or he advocates that itself is the ultimate truth and nothing is there beyond that. So he takes pride in his foolishness. So that is what is it. Yattu krutsnavad ekasmin karye. Krutsnavad, as though that is the complete, as though that is the whole. He holds on to a very small aspect, and then he says that that is the be all and end all. And then karye saktam, saktaha, he is attached to that. Ahaitukam, ahaitukam is irrational, in a very, very irrational manner, in a manner, in a very dogmatic manner, or in a sort of fundamentalist way, to use some modern words. He is a sort of fundamentalist who sticks on to a particular belief, and then he says, my belief is the ultimate. So that sort of thing is tamasa. We come across these fundamentalist beliefs even now, with greater, say, all around, you can see this sort of fundamentalist attitude. So this yattu krutsnavad ekasmin karye. This is shloka number, say, 22nd. Then Krishna comes to examine what is karma. Karma again in the framework of these three gunas. Karma analysis, sattvika karma. Sattvika karma is karma yoga. Karma yoga again is not for a jnani. Karma yoga again is for an anatmavit, anatmagya only. Anatmavit only, who is still at the level of ajnana only, he does karma. And then while performing karma, he performs in such a way that he doesn't get the fruit of the action, he doesn't get affected by the fruit of that action. Karma phala sanyoga is avoided. So that is what is mentioned here. Niyatam sangarahitam aragadveshatah krutam. This shloka number 23. Niyatam means nitya karma. Whatever has been compulsorily done by him, whatever has to be compulsorily done by him, then that sort of karma, sangarahitam aragadveshatah krutam, aphala prepsuna, without desiring the fruit of that karma, yattat satvika muchyate. This type of karma is satvika karma. Then Rajasa karma is where there is this kamepsa. Kamepsa means desire is very much there. This ipsa is there. And then sahankarena. Sahankarena means with a great notion of I. Of course, even this earlier man, that notion of I has not gone. If that notion of I goes away, then he becomes a jnani. But then that is a subordinate thing. That notion of I is subordinated to the idea that I am doing as an order from the Lord. I am doing it with an Ishwararpana Buddhi. So that I am doing it with an Ishwararpana Buddhi is there. Whereas this man, I have done this great yajna, I have done this very great thing. So he is very pompous, elaborate, and then he is very ostentatious in his behavior, in his whatever karma he does. So all these things, they characterize this Rajasa karma. Very ostentatious, pompous, boastful, that type of person is this, say, Rajasa karma. Kriyate bahulayasam. Bahula ayasam means highly strenuous, ostentatious. So this type of thing is this Rajasa karma. Then Tamasa karma. Tamasa karma is something which is anubandham kshayam himsam anavekshya. So this fellow who is unmindful, totally unmindful of any consequences, unmindful of his own, say, strength or ability to do that, unmindful of the violence involved, shayam himsam anavekshya, unmindful of the violence involved, he doesn't bother for the violence and all that. So mohad arabhyate karma, and out of sheer deluded thinking he starts something. So that sort of karma is tamasa. Then later Krishna goes on to examine karta. Karta means the doer. what are the characteristics of the doer? That again in the framework of the three gunas. So then Satvika Karta. Satvika Karta is naturally a karma yogi. Somebody who has been doing karma yoga is karma yogi. That karma yogi, how is it described? Mukta Sangaha, Anahamvadi. Anahamvadi does not mean that he has gone over this notion of I. He doesn't talk about himself. He doesn't brag about himself. Anahamvadi. Rather humble man. Humility. Humility characterizes this particular person. So that is that Mukta Sangaha Anahamvadi. Dhrutyutsaha Samanvitaha. But at the same time, though he looks mild, he performs his actions with all determination, with all great clarity of mind. Dhruti Utsaha. Dhruti means determination. Utsaha, that is Udyama, enterprise, with great enthusiasm. He performs all that action. He may not say, I have done this, but then he performs with a great amount of interest, with all dedication, sense of dedication and Shraddha, and with all enthusiasm. Then Siddhya Siddhyor Nirvikaraha. He is Nirvikara. He doesn't get perturbed either by the Siddhi or by the Asiddhi. Then that sort of Karta is Satvika Karta. He is basically a Karma Yogi. Then contrast to that is this Ragi, Karma Phala Prepsuhu. We are coming to Rajasa Karta. Ragi, one who is attached, and one who has desire for this fruit of that action. Lubdhaha, one who is very greedy and then who was very, very possessive about it. Then Himsatmakaha, he doesn't mind using violence to achieve his means, his goals. Then Ashuchi, he lacks integrity. Ashuchi means lacking integrity. Then Harsha Shokanvitah Karta. So he feels, he gets rejoiced when he achieves it, and he becomes highly pensive and despondent when he fails to achieve a thing. So that sort of Karta is Rajasa. Then this Tamasa is the third category. He is, number one is Ayukta. Ayukta means he is totally fickle and inconsistent. He doesn't have any focus. He is fickle, inconsistent, prakruta, unrefined, stabdha. Stabdha means stubborn. He sticks on to one particular idea and says, Krutsnavad ekasmin karye saktam. So that is what again is characterized here. Stabdha. Stabdha is stubborn. He sticks on to a particular thing and then he says nothing beyond this. Shathaha. Shatha means cunning. Then Naishkrutikaha, harming somebody else's work. Not only does he not do properly, but he also harms, he harms, he spoils somebody else's work. And then Vishadi, always gets depressed. Then Dirghasutri, he also procrastinates. So all these are characteristics of a Tamasa Karta. Then Buddhi, Dhruti, etc., they are again being examined in the next shlokas. Buddhi means intellect, ability to distinguish, ability to discriminate. So that is what is Buddhi. What sort of Buddhi is Satvika Buddhi? Satvika Buddhi is that which knows Pravrutti and Nivrutti. Pravrutti and Nivrutti means what is it that is going to lead to Abhyudaya in this life? Abhyudaya means worldly prosperity. And what is it that is it is leading to Nishreyasa? That is the absolute reality, that is supreme reality. So this distinction he knows. What is it that is needed for Abhyudaya and what is it that is needed for Nishreyasa? That is what is Pravrutti Dharma and Nivrutti Dharma. These two things he knows. Then Karya Karye, what has to be done and what should not be done. Bhaya Bhaye, fear and non-fear means what has to be feared and what should not be feared. So he knows. What has to be feared means what is the type of character he has to build up. So that sort of thing. So in the absence of a particular virtue, he is afraid. So that sort of fear. So Bhaya Bhaye, what is good for the seeker and what is not good for the seeker, in other words. Then Bandham Moksham cha yo vetti. Bandham and Moksham. That is what is going to bind him and what is going to liberate him. So that also he knows. Ya vetti buddhissa partha satviki. That particular buddhi which knows all these things is that satvika buddhi. Then again Rajasa buddhi. Rajasa buddhi is something, dharmam, adharmam, karyam, akaryam and all these things. He looks at them from his personal point of view. Ayatavad vijanati. Because he is very committed to karma phala. He is very much greedy about that karma phala. So ayathavat means not as they are. Yathavat means as it is. Ayathavat means not as it is. So here dharmam, adharmam, he knows all those things not as they are, but from his own personal prejudice and with his own personal, from his own personal perspective, he sees. And then that sort of buddhi is rajasi. Then the tamasa buddhi is adharmam dharmamiti yamanyate. That is, he sees that whatever is adharma, he looks at it as dharma. That is, fair is foul and foul is fair. There is a line from Shakespeare. It is something like that. Whatever is fair, for this man, it is foul. And whatever is foul, it is fair. So it is like that. So the totally contrary value system. His value system is totally distorted. Then sarvarthan viparitanscha. Viparitam is totally contrary. That sort of buddhi is tamasi. Then we come to this dhruti. Dhruti means determination, resolution. And this sort of buddhi, what is this sattvika buddhi? Dhruti is again a chitta vritti. Intellect is the ability to analyze. Dhruti is that particular chitta vritti which is that firmness and resoluteness. So that sort of thing is dhruti. Then dhrutyayaya dharayate manah pranendriya kriyaha. So a person who is able to firmly keep his body-mind complex under control. In other words, we are referring to this Atma Sanyama Yoga here. The 6th chapter, whatever has been told as Atma Sanyama Yoga, is being told here. Then Yogena Avyabhicharinya. This again is undeviating attention to that particular purification. And then that sort of dhruti is Sattviki dhruti. So his mind is focused on that, and then he is dedicated to that Atma Sanyama Yoga. That sort of dhruti is Sattvika dhruti. Then the second man is Yayatu Dharma Kamarthan Dhrutya Dharayate. So he follows this Dharma Kama Artha, all these three things. But then Prasangena Phalakankshi. As the context arises, Prasangena, whatever is the context, according to that context, he is Phalakankshi. He desires the fruit of that action. So that sort of dhruti, that sort of resolution or determination is rajasa determination. Then tamasi dhruti. What is that? Yaya swapnam bhayam shokam vishadam madamevacha na vimunchati durmedhaha. Durmedha, totally distorted mind, totally distorted thinking. So this gentleman is characterized by fear, all sort of depression, and also along with that madam also. Madam means pride. Why is that pride? Sometimes he sticks on to a particular idea and then he takes pride in his own ignorance. Nothing beyond this. So that type of person. Na vimunchati. He doesn't leave his foolishness. So that sort of dhruti is tamasi dhruti. Then the last item which he examines is sukham. Sukham means happiness. After all, that is the human pursuit. The human pursuit, the basic human pursuit is sukham or happiness. What type of sukham? Again, it is of three types: sattvika sukham, rajasa sukham, and tamasa sukham. Sattvika sukham is something like what we see in that story of Amruta Mathanam. The gods and demons, they go and then they churn the milk of, they churn that ocean of milk. And then initially that halahalam, that poison comes. And then with great pain and all that, they continue and then they resume that activity. Once they resume, at the end, they do get this nectar. So it is like that. So yattad agre vishamiva pariname amrutopamam. In the beginning, it looks as though it is visham. In the beginning, it looks as though it is poison. It is very difficult. It is very tough, unpalatable. Whereas pariname, as it grows, as it keeps on changing, amrutopamam, it becomes amruta, it becomes a nectar. So that sort of sukha, in the beginning it is very strenuous, but at the end it is really blissful. It leads a person to jnana. It doesn't lead a person to some sort of blissful ignorance and all that. It leads to jnana. That sort of sukham is called sattvika buddhi. And he also says Atma Buddhi Prasadajam. Atma Buddhi, that is Atma Vishaya Buddhi. Shankaracharya says Atma Vishayava, Atma Alambanava. That is, Atma Buddhi is realization of the knowledge of self. Either you can take it in that way, or Atma Alambanava. You are focused on that particular knowledge. You have not yet realized, but you are focusing on that. One is a realization, another is a focus in the path. So one is a seeker and one is a realized person. So you can mean both the things. So that sort of buddhi is sattvika buddhi. Then rajasa buddhi is say pleasure which is arising from external objects. That is vishayendriya sanyogat. Vishaya indriya sanyogat. Vishaya means an object. Indriya are senses. Vishayendriya sanyoga. That is pleasure which is derived from the experience of sensual objects. So all those things, agre sukhamiva, agre amrutopamam. In the beginning it looks so great, and then pariname vishamiva. At the end, it is something which is very, very painful. So that sort of sukham is rajasa sukha. Then tamasa sukha. Tamasa sukha is all through it looks as though it is very happy. But then in reality, in the beginning also it is the dukkham, and towards the end also it is dukkham. All through it is dukkham only. But it looks as though it is sukham. That is because of his deluded thinking. Yad agrecha anubandhecha sukham mohanamatmana. That which deludes. And then nidra alasya pramadottham, arising out of all these things, laziness and pramada, and then say this sort of procrastination, all these things, that sort of thing is tamasam, which doesn't lead a person to jnana. So here ends the analysis of various aspects. About 6 topics have been examined by Krishna here. This particular thing ends, and then Krishna makes one important statement. A sort of statement of a doctrine, we can say a doctrinal statement. He says, that is 40th shloka, na tadasti pruthivyam va divi deveshu va punaha sattvam prakrutijair muktam yad ebhisyat tribhir gunaihi. This is a shloka which is quite often quoted. That is, either in the Devaloka or among gods or in this Bhuloka or anywhere, there is nothing which is beyond these 3 gunas. There is nothing which is not a composite of these 3 gunas. There is nothing which is not constituted by these 3 gunas. So this is an important sort of policy statement which Sri Krishna makes. That is, the 3 gunas are the constituents of that Maya. And these 3 gunas only are responsible for the evolution of the physical body, and also for the mind, for everything that which is seen, and for all things which are manifesting. These 3 gunas are responsible. So that is in other words, that is what he is saying. There is nothing in the whole creation which is not characterized by these 3 gunas, or which is not constituted by these 3 gunas. Then he incidentally mentions immediately after these 3 gunas, whenever the topic of guna comes, then naturally these gunas, how they generally apply to human character, that also we have to see. When all these gunas, these 3 gunas, they combine in different permutations and combinations, and then produce different personality types. And what are these personality types? So Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaisya, Shudra. So there are 4 personality types for which our scriptures or our elders, they have given a name. So those names are Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaisya, Shudra, depending on the predominance of a particular guna. The predominance of Sattva guna and this Rajas being secondary is Brahmana. Predominance of Rajo guna and Sattva guna being secondary becomes Kshatriya. Then predominance of Rajo guna and Tamas being the secondary, it becomes Vaisya. And predominance of Tamo guna and other 2 things becoming secondary is that Shudra. So that is how human personalities are divided. And over a period of time we have seen this Nilakantha Bhashyam also. Nilakantha Bhashyam also we saw, where Nilakantacharya very, very clearly says, not only Nilakantacharya, Shankaracharya also hints at it, that is, the personality types are basically they are mainly based on the gunas and not by birth. Guna karma vibhagashaha, he says, and not jati karma vibhagashaha. Jati means birth. So guna karma vibhagashaha, this is manifestation of gunas in a particular person. So that those gunas, they determine the varna and not the jati. So that is what this Nilakantacharya, I read that in detail. And he also makes a distinction between, one second. He also makes a distinction between this Varna Dharma and Jati Dharma. This Nilakantacharya makes a distinction between Varna Dharma and Jati Dharma. Varna Dharma is what Krishna is going to explain. That is Shama, Damaha, Tapaha, etc. for a Brahmin. Then Shauryam, Tejaha, etc. for a Kshatriya. These are the Varna Dharmas. That is, depending on the manifestation of these three gunas, we are seeing these dharmas. These are the basic personality traits. But then, Jati Dharma is something which is given in Dharma Shastras. Jati Dharma, for instance, Jati Dharma for a Brahmin is Adhyapanam, Adhyayanam, then again Danam, and then Yajanam, Parigraha. Parigraha means accepting some, say, bhiksha from other people. So this sort of activity is, which is the duty of a Brahmin, which is prescribed for a Brahmin, socially prescribed. You see, what is the basic, character of a person is something relating to guna. And what is socially prescribed is something which is called a Jati Dharma. Varna Dharma is something different, Jati Dharma is something different. So this Jati Dharma, for example, a king, the Jati Dharma is Praja Rakshanam. So that is Prajanam Rakshanam, protecting the people. So that and going to war if in case of need. So all these things are duties of a Kshatriya. So like that, Jati Dharmas are different from Varna Dharmas. So once we see the Varna Dharma, you see, here he says, Brahmana Kshatriya Visham Shudranancha Parantapa Karmani Pravibhaktani Swabhava Prabhavair Gunaihi. This Swabhava is an important word. Swabhava, Shankaracharya gives three meanings there. Swabhava refers either to Maya, that is Prakruti. Number two is manifestation of samskaras. How exactly, what type of samskaras are manifest in a person. Then manifestation of gunas. So all the three, either or, he says yadva. So in any sense we can take, but there is not much difference in these three things. So basic point which Shankaracharya also says is that this manifestation of guna in another form, it manifests as a samskara only, isn't it? So that way, he says, this manifestation of various gunas, they do define these four types of people. And he says, for Brahmana, what are the duty, what is the type? Shamo damas tapas shaucham kshantir arjavamevacha jnanam vijnanam astikyam. So pursuit of knowledge, then Shama, Dama, all these things, and then Tapaha, Shaucham, integrity, that is intellectual honesty and all that. So all these things, Kshantihi, say Shanti means Shama Gunam, that is Shama is what? Forgiveness, yeah, for not only forgiveness, Shama, yeah, we can say, okay, for forgiveness, Arjavam, straightforwardness, Rujusvabhava. So all these things, they are all characteristics of a Brahmana. So all these, and wherever all these characteristics are found, that person should be characterized as a Brahmana. It is something like a personality test, aptitude test. If you find all these things, you have to characterize him as a Brahmana. Then it comes to Kshatriya. Shauryam, Tejaha, Dhrutir, Dakshyam, that is valor. Tejaha means assertiveness, Pragalbhyam. Shankaracharya says Pragalbhyam means assertiveness, dominating others, and confidence. So that sort of thing is Tejaha. Dhruti, Dakshyam, all these. Dakshyam is capability, Dhruti is resoluteness, Dakshyam is capability. Then Yuddhecha, Apalayanam, not running away from battle. All these things. Ishvara Bhavascha. Ishvara Bhava means leadership qualities. Ishana Silitvam, that is leadership qualities. So if you keep 10 people in a particular place, and then if they are, say, encountering a particular problem, one among them, he emerges as a leader, natural leader. So that is that Ishvara Bhavam. So that leadership quality is that Kshatriya Guna. So Kshatram Karma Swabhavajam. Then it comes to Vaishya. Krushi Gaurakshya Vanijyam Vaishya Karma Swabhavajam. So this also we discussed. Vaishya again is, he is a Dvija. All the people in the society who are doing Krushi, who are doing Goraksha, that is all the people who are living by agriculture, all the people who are even tending cattle and all that, and all the people who are in any type of trade, all these people come under the definition of a Dvija. So that is what the society has forgotten. So all these people are also entitled to do adhyayana. This, even according to Manusmriti, all these people are entitled to do Vedadhyayana. Somebody who is a farmer, he is entitled to do Vedadhyayana. Somebody who is doing some small trade, he is entitled to do Vedadhyayana. But unfortunately, the society has forgotten. Of course, the Brahmins themselves are not learning Veda. Naturally, all others also have given up. Then Paricharyatmakam karma Shudrasyapi Swabhavajam. One who totally lacks initiative. For him, what is left is to obey the orders of others. So that is what is called Paricharya. So this is one thing. Then Krishna also makes a statement. Yatah pravrittir bhutanam yena sarvamidam tatam swakarmana tam abhyarchya siddhim vindati manavaha. So work is worship. He says swakarmana tam abhyarchya. So whatever is the socially assigned duty to you, that socially assigned duty is also in accordance with your guna. You see, initially when these duties were assigned, either by Manu or by some other Smriti Kara, other writer of a Smriti. So how were they assigned? They were assigned basically keeping in view the gunas for a Brahmin or a Kshatriya or for a Vaishya or for a Shudra. So these socially assigned duties are also in accordance with this gunas only. So by performing these socially assigned tasks, swakarmana tam abhyarchya, by worshipping the Creator, yatah pravrittir bhutanam yena sarvamidam tatam, we are referring to the Creator, Ishvara, at the level of Ishvara, that Mayavachinam Chaitanyam, from which all these things have emerged. There is a cosmic law, there is a cosmic rule, there is a cosmic harmony. So one has to align himself with that cosmic, or universal plan, or universal scheme, or the cosmic intellect. So that is what is that swakarmana tam abhyarchya. Whatever has been assigned, one has to do. And by that, siddhim vindati manavaha. Siddhi means jnana lakshana yogyata siddhi, he says, Shankaracharya said, jnana nishtha yogyata lakshana siddhi. That is, he becomes eligible. Is the time over? Is there still time? Jnana nishtha yogyata lakshana. So he becomes eligible because his mind gets pure. Because by performing whatever has been the socially assigned task, that person, he attains purity of mind, and that purity of mind is what makes him eligible to the next level, that is jnana nishtha. Then Shankaracharya, Krishna also says, Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha paradharmat swanushthitat. This line was also there in the third adhyaya. Third adhyaya also the same line was there. Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha paradharmat swanushthitat. It was there. Then swabhavaniyatam karma kurvan napnoti kilbisham. He says, swabhavaniyatam karma, whatever has been prescribed according to a person's swabhava, a person does not attain sin by doing that. Of course, indirectly referring to Arjuna, that your Kshatriya karma is this. This Kshatriya karma, if you do not do, you are not going to be tainted by any sort of sin. Then he again this subject slightly changes. Asakta buddhis sarvatra. This is shloka number 49. Then when we come to shloka number 49, then 48 also we can see. 48 also we can see. 48 shloka it says, Sahajam karma kaunteya sadoshamapi natyajet sarvarambhahi doshena dhumena agnirivavruta. This is sahaja karma, even though it is tainted with some little bit of dosha. Every person's karma is tainted with some little bit of dosha, some defect. For example, Kshatriya karma involves some little bit of some violence. For example, a judge is sitting on, the bench. So this gentleman, he has to give a punishment. So he has to give that punishment, according to law and without any sort of sentiment, without any sort of sentimentalism. So if he indulges in sentimentalism, he is not doing his duty as a judge. He has to do his duty in a very, very meticulous way. So that is what is sadoshamapi natyajet. So even though it is associated with some little bit of personal problem and then defect and whatnot, so that cannot be given up. This is again asserted by Krishna. Then the 49th shloka comes to Naishkarmya Siddhi. Asakta buddhi sarvatra jitatma vigataspruha. A person who has been doing this karma yoga in that manner, slowly he graduates to this level. Asakta buddhi jitatma, one who has his self under control. Vigataspruha, one who is devoid of this greed and desire. So such a person, Naishkarmya Siddhim Paramam Sanyasena Adhigacchati. By virtue of that karma sannyasa, he attains this Naishkarmya Siddhi. So that is state of actionlessness which we discussed. Shankaracharya uses the word Nishkriya Brahmatma Sambodhat Nirgatani Karmani. That is, by realization of this unity of this self with Brahman. By realization of this unity of self with Brahman, Nirgatani Karmani, all his actions, they have disappeared. So that is what Shankaracharya says. Then, Siddhim Prapto Yatha Brahma Tathapnoti Nibodhame, then Jnana Marga. Then the next few shlokas, they talk about Jnani. That is shloka number 50 to 56, they talk about a Jnani. But then Bhakti is invariably emphasized. There, no doubt we are talking about Jnani, but then Siddhim Praptaha, one who has attained this Jnana Nishtha Yogyata Lakshana Siddhi, one who has attained that particular level, that will fructify only when it is associated with Bhakti. So that is what he says. Then Buddhya Vishuddhaya Yuktaha Dhrutyatmanam Niyamyacha. So all these things, it is a preliminary stage. And then Vivikta Sevi Laghvashi. Some more conditions are there. That is, a person, he should like solitude. And then Laghvashi, he should not be a glutton. Yata Vakkayamanasaha, one who controls, one who has this Trikarana Shuddhi, the body, mind and speech. Then Dhyana Yoga Paraha, one who is, say, in that Nididhyasana. So Nityam Vairagyam Samupashritaha. All these are not Grihastha, they are not Grihastha dharmas, they are all sannyas dharmas only. So, and then Bahankaram, Balam, Darpam, all these things, Vimuchya, Nirmamaha, Shantaha. So all these are preliminary stages of Nididhyasana. And then Krishna, Lord Krishna, in this particular shloka, that is 54th shloka, coming to 54, Brahmabhuta Prasannatma, Na Shochati Nakangshati, Samas Sarveshu Bhuteshu, Madbhaktim Labhate Param. So Param Madbhaktim Labhate, he attains my bhakti, he says. When you have gone through this state of Nididhyasana for a long period of time, Brahmabhutaha means, here we are not talking about the final culmination. We are still talking about the process of Brahmabhuta. That is why one commentator has given an explanation. Guru Shastradina Parokshena Brahmavit, he says. Guru has taught something, Shastra has taught the same thing, and then with that Paroksha Jnani. So that here Brahmabhutaha does not refer to the fully realized person. It talks about a Paroksha Jnani who has that theoretical understanding of what is Brahman, and then who is still in the process, of becoming Brahman. So for him, who is again Nashochati Nakangshati, one who has got over that Shoka and Moha, then Nakangshati, he does not have any sense of inadequacy in him. Then Samaha Sarveshu Bhuteshu, he is equal to all beings. So such a person, Madbhaktim Labhate. So he attains my bhakti. What is bhakti? Shankaracharya again says, Jnana Lakshanam Bhaktim. That is, he attains that realization that he is not different from me. So, Mad Bhaktim Labhate Param. Then the next shloka again says, again he talks about bhakti only. Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvatah. Bhaktya, that is again Jnana Lakshanaya Bhaktya. By bhakti which is characterized by Jnana. So, by that, he realizes me, Yavan Yaschasmi. That is Upadhi Sahita and also Upadhi Rahita. He understands at both levels, Upadhi Sahita and also Upadhi Rahita. Then Tatomam Tatvato Jnatva. Tatvatah means in reality. What exactly is the essence? Jnatva Vishate Tadanantaram. That is Brahmavid Brahmaiva Bhavati, he says. Then Jnatva Vishate. There are no two stages called Jnatva and Vishate. There are no two karma, there are no two actions. Vishate tadanantaram, it means that realization that there is nothing else, realization that there is nothing else beyond this. So that is what is the meaning of Jnatva Vishate. That is what Shankaracharya explains. Then again we come to 56th shloka. 56th shloka again refers to Jnani karma. How does a Jnani perform his karma? Sarva karmanyapi sada kurvano madvyapashrayah. Then matprasadadavapnoti shashvatam padam avyayam. So this Jnani, though he is engaged in all karmas by virtue of prarabdha. For example, a king Janaka, he is a king, but he is also a Jnani. By virtue of prarabdha, he has to discharge the duties of a king. So all such things. Such a person, madvyapashrayah, by having ashraya in me. So such a person, mat prasadat, that is Ishwarasya prasadat, avapunoti shashvatam padam avyayam. So that is what he says. Then 57th shloka also is the same thing. That is an instruction to Arjuna. It is an instruction to Arjuna. Chetasa sarvakarmani maisanyasya matparaha buddhiyogam upashritya machittaha satatam bhava. Bhava means you be. It is an address to Arjuna. So Chetasa, by Viveka Buddhya, by this sense of discrimination, Sarva Karmani Maisanyasya, having surrendered all these actions in me, Buddhi Yoga Upashritya, by having this knowledge about your own self, Machittaha Satatam Bhava. Then he says, then he comes to a little bit of tough talk. That is, as I said, one commentator, Shankarananda, uses the words Nayena Bhayena. So that is, Lord Krishna is explaining to him. And then he also says, do not think that you can do. Yad ahankaram ashritya nayosyaiti manyase. So that is what he says. 58th and 59th shlokas, they talk about this ahankara. If you think that you are something which is, you can yourself take a decision, it cannot happen because you are so constituted. Your nature is so, it is constituted in a particular way. Your nature will compel you. Your nature itself will force you to go and fight. So that is what he says. That is, athachetvam ahankaran nashroshyasi vinanshyasi. If you think that oh, ahankarat, by virtue of that ahankara, no, I will not fight and all that. If you do not do like that, you yourself will come to grief. Then, yad ahankaram ashritya nayotsyeti manyase. If you think that, okay, I will not fight, etc., mithyaisha vyavasayaste, that particular decision of yours is something which is fruitless, which is something which is futile, mithya. Vyavasaya means nischaya. All your decision is something which is a futile decision. Prakrutihi tvam niyokshyati. Prakriti is going to direct you. Niyokshyati means niyoga. Niyoga means directing a person. Niyokshyati. Then swabhavajena kaunteya nibaddha svena karmana. You see this swabhava karma. Swabhava means, coming back to that earlier shloka, swabhava niyatair gunaihi. Swabhava means something which characterize the combination of these gunas as manifesting in a person. That is what is swabhava. So by that, nibaddha. Nibaddha means you are bound by that. You are bound by that, and then svena karmana, by that swabhavajam karma. Then even if you do not do, that your swabhava will drive you. So that is what he says. Avashopi san. Avashopi tat. Then again he says, Ishvara sarvabhutanam hruddeshe arjuna tishtati. That is again a well-known shloka. Ramayan sarvabhutani yantra rudhani mayaya. Then he again says, Tameva sharanam gacha sarvabhavena bharata. So you surrender to that Ishvara. That is surrender by understanding. Not a surrender in an ignorant manner. Surrender by understanding. Sharanam gacha sarvabhavena. Sarvabhavena means realizing it as Atma. Realizing it as Sarvatma, Sarvabhavena, then Tat Prasadat Param Shantim Prapsyasi. By that, by the grace of that Sarvatma, Ishvara, you will attain the supreme Shanti. Then Itite Jnanam Akhyatam Guhyat Guhyataram Maya Vimrushyaita Dasheshena Yathechasi Tatha Kuru. So I have told you what all needs to be told, and then you now do whatever you please. Yathechasi tatha kuru. You now do whatever you please. Then again he says, Ishtosi me drudhamiti tato vakshyami te hitam. Having said that, he says, again, okay, I have given you a choice, but still I want to counsel you because I like you. Ishtosi me drudham. I like you most. Tato vakshyami te hitam. So that is precisely why I am telling you what is good for you. Then manmana bhava, madbhaktaha, madhyaji, mam namaskuru. Then he says, manmana bhava. Manmana bhava is at the level of Brahmatma abheda. Manmana bhava. That is realizing yourself as me. Manmana bhava. Madbhaktaha, or otherwise upasana. Madbhakta is that upasana level, at the level of duality. Madhyaji. Yaji means yajana. That is working for him. That is karma. Madhyaji means matkarma paramo bhava. We have seen an earlier line. You do all your action for my sake. That is Ishwararpana buddhya karma. Madhyaji, mam namaskuru. You worship me. Then while you do that, mame vaishyasi satyam te pratijane. Pratijane priyosime. So then by doing that, you will attain me. So that is what he says. Then 66th shloka is again a very important shloka. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami mashuchaha. So under this, of course, Shankaracharya's commentary for this particular shloka is fairly little, but then after this he elaborates. So for this shloka, sarva dharman parityajya. Dharman means sarva karmani. Sarva karmani sanyasya. Sarva dharman parityajya means sarva karmani sanyasya. Mam ekam. Mam ekam means param brahma. That param brahma. Sharanam vraja. Sharanam is again at the level of knowledge. I told you I quoted one line from this Madhusudana Saraswati. That is, there are three levels of bhakti. That is, tasyaivaham, mamaivasau, sayevayamiti tridha. That is, in the beginning, tasyaivaham, I am a servant of the Lord. Tasyaivaham, mamaivasau, when you have reached some maturity level in that upasana, mamaivasau, he belongs to me. How can he go away from me? He is in my heart. So that is the strength of an upasaka. Sayevayamiti tridha. Sayevaham. That is, I am not different from that. That is the understanding of a jnani. So Krishna is talking from that point of view. So then, aham tva sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami. Not that Lord Krishna is taking away all the sins of this Arjuna. Sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami means you go beyond this dharma and adharma. When you attain this level of understanding, that you are not different from me, then dharma bandha rupebhyaha, from all these things, mokshayishyami, I am going to release you from all these things. Then thereafter there is a very big debate about Shankaracharya summarizes the whole message of Gita in his own way, and then he brings out certain important points. One is that jnana karma samuchayavada khandana. That is the Mimamsaka's argument that jnana and karma can go together. That is traveling on two boats which are going in opposite direction. So one leg on one boat which is going into east, and another leg in another boat traveling towards west. So it is like that. So it is not possible. That is what he says. And then he says that jnanam alone is the means for this liberation. Then Purvapaksha again says karma alone can give moksha. That point also is refuted. Then again Purvapaksha talks about nitya karma. The very performance of nitya karma is something, it is such a strenuous thing. It is due to all these sins, past sins. So performance of nitya karma in a meticulous way, that itself will nullify all the sins. So that is the argument he takes. So Shankaracharya, he refutes it. We need not go into all those arguments because we spent about 7 or 8 classes on that. Then Jnanapat and Karma Yoga, Shankaracharya says, this Jnanapat and also Karma Yoga, they are for two different levels of people. Then all karma is due to avidya. And avidya and karma kanda, they go together because a person who performs karma is at the level of avidya. Then lastly, the Sankhya concept also is taken into account. That is, Purusha Sannidhi Matrena Kartrutvam. By mere presence, the Kartrutva can be attributed to him. So that also is refuted by Shankaracharya. And then ultimately it is said that Jnana alone unassisted or unassisted by any other thing, is the means for liberation. Then the last shlokas, the last few shlokas, if you see the 68th shloka onwards, it is telling about Phalashruti. What is the punyam which accrues to the teacher? What is the punyam which accrues to the student? What is the punyam which accrues to the listener? So all these things say they are told. Then shloka 73. If you come to the shloka number 73, Nashto moha smrutirlabdha tvat prasadanmayachyuta sthitosmi gata sandeha karishye vachanam tava. There Arjuna is clarifying. Arjuna is very clearly saying that Nashto moha, my delusion is gone. And smrutirlabdha, I have realized myself. And then all the commentators here have pointed out that Arjuna has become a jnani. Arjuna, that is, he is talking from the level of a jnani. So, smrutirlabdha, atma vishaya smrutihi, that is what Shankaracharya says. Then, tvat prasadan mayachyuta, now, karishye vachanam tava. That is, though for a jnani there is no action, this action is really actionlessness. Karishye vachanam tava literally means, this, though he is appearing to be engaged in war and all that, it is really actionlessness because he has reached that particular level of awareness. So that is what we have seen. And at the end, say Sanjaya gets back to the storyline, and then he says, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishno, Yatra Partho Dhanurdharaha, this is my assessment, where this Brahma and Kshatra, when these two things are together, then certainly that is where Tatra Shrihi Vijayaha Bhutihi Dhruva Netir Matirmama. So that is what we have seen. And at the end of all this, we have to see that this Gita, the very word Gita is something where these three things are told. That is about Jiva, Jagat and Brahma. These three things are told. And any exalted teaching where these three things are told, and any exalted teaching where this, Brahma Atma Bhava, that is, Brahma is not, this Atma is not different from Brahman. When that sort of teaching is given, that is called an exalted teaching, and that is what is Gita. And then we have seen that, say here of course the context is different, but in different contexts, the same message is given by different people. Lord Krishna himself tells Arjuna at a later time, Ashwamedha Parva, again he gives the same message to Arjuna. Then again, Sanat Kumara, Saint Sanat Kumara, he comes and gives the same message to Dhritarashtra. So in Mahabharata itself, there are three places where the similar content, similar message is there. In fact, they are slightly larger passages. And if you see Bhagavatam also there is what is called Shruti Gita. There is what is called Uddhava Gita, Krishna's teaching to Uddhava. The context is different there. So here again context is different. In this particular context it is addressed to Arjuna, where Arjuna is supposed to have a clear understanding of his own self, and then his, a comprehensive vision of what is the reality, and then he has to get into action. So that we should not forget. It is not as though Krishna is driving Arjuna to war. That is not the point. Krishna is not driving Arjuna for the war. Krishna is only giving a larger picture. The same content is there. You take Kathopanishad, you take some other Upanishad, or you take any other Gita, Ashtavakra Gita or some other Gita, the same content is there. So that is what we have to see. And then the whole exercise of Gita is for self-purification. That is evolution from a lower self, that delimited self, to that unlimited self. That unlimited self is that Supreme Brahman. So realizing that by just discarding all the notions of limitations and then evolving into that level of Brahman is the ultimate message of that Gita. So that is how we can end this class. And we have come to an end of our 2 years and a few months with some small gaps in between. So we have completely studied the Bhashyam line to line. So with that feeling, let us now do a small prayer. So now we'll say Om Shri Krishnarpanamastu, Harihi Om Tat Sat, Shri Om Shri Krishnarpanamastu. We'll do a small prayer now.